Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up an external authentication method in Entra ID. As an example of an external authentication method, I'm going to use Cisco DUO. Before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe to my channel. It gives me a further incentive to create more of these videos going forward in the future. Let's get started. First thing we're going to have a look is at this graph. It shows us the authentication flow from the user trying to access an application to the user actually successfully accessing the said application. If you look at the down bottom, we have a user. User tries to access the application on the left. User is then redirected to Microsoft Entra ID for sign-in. This is where they input the email address and password. User authenticates with the primary authentication method, which is email address and password. Then user is redirected to external authentication provider. In our case, that's going to be Cisco DUO, where the authentication provider, Cisco DUO, requests user action. So user receives a notification on the phone to either approve or deny the sign-in request. Once the user executes the action requested, let's say they approve the request, the user is redirected back to Entra ID with an ID token containing the claims required for verification. The token gets validated in Entra ID, and after this, the sign-in is complete. And the final step is that the user successfully accesses the application. If we go back to the authentication methods, we're going to set up Cisco DUO now so you can see how the process works. If you go on the left-hand side in Entra ID, click Authentication Methods, then at the top, click Add External Method, Preview. This is still in preview, so it may not work perfectly. However, the general availability shouldn't be that far away, hopefully. Okay. So what does the external authentication method actually do? Well, it lets users choose an external provider to meet multifactor authentication requirements when they sign into Microsoft Entra ID, as we saw on the previous graph. The external authentication method can satisfy MFA requirements from conditional access policies, identity protection sign-in risk policies, and privileged identity management activation, and when the application itself requires MFA, as we saw on the graphic. So this external method differs from the federation in that user identity is originated and managed in Entra ID. However, with federation, the identity is managed to the external identity provider. Just to note that you might or might not be able to see this option, as you require at least a Microsoft Entra ID P1 license. So if you don't see this feature, please check your licensing first. Let's get started. As you can see here, we need a name, client ID, and discovery endpoint, and app ID. In our case, we're going to use Cisco. You can test this yourself and can sign up for a trial Cisco account for testing purposes. Go on the left-hand side, click Applications, and protect an application. Then search Microsoft or Entra ID. Here we can see Microsoft Entra ID external authentication methods, and we can click Protect. So the first thing we'll need to do is to grant DUO permissions to read our organization's Azure Active Directory, which is the former name for Entra ID. And afterwards, we'll be redirected here to continue the setup. If we click Authorize, and we will be taken to Entra ID sign-in, we'll be required to give permissions to Cisco DUO. However, these are just basic permissions, and this is a test environment, so to read our directory data, view our basic profile, and maintain access to the data you have given. given it to. So we can consent on behalf of organization as an admin. And now you can see we have the required information. We simply need to copy this information back into our Entra ID. And once we have that, the request admin consent will be verified. If we scroll down, we can see that we can target certain users, only certain groups. Of course, if you for the testing per here, I'm using the testing environment, so I'm happy to target all users. However, you would definitely want to target a test group first before you roll it out to the whole organization. We click Save. And that's it. As you can see here down the bottom, we have external, preview, so authentication, method provider, Cisco DUO is now listed here. We have just set up external authentication method in Entra ID using Cisco DUO. There are a couple more things that we need to set up, and then we are ready to do the testing. So here, if we click on Cisco DUO, the new method we just created, we need to enable it. Simply turn it on here, and we'll select all users. It's a test environment. Here are just the configuration options we set up previously. We click Save. And then once we confirm this is enabled, we go to the conditional access policy. Before we set up the conditional access policy to require MFA, I just want to bring your attention to this custom controls preview option here. So this custom controls option is actually going away and is being replaced by the external authentication method we just set up. It's not really very intuitive as both are in preview, but custom controls will be replaced by this option here. So if we go back to the policies, we can simply create conditional access policy, name it something like this, select the user. We're gonna use simply one user just for testing purposes. Adele, let's pick Adele. Target resources, let's secure all our apps, all our cloud apps. And then if we go grant, we click here, grant access, require multi-factor authentication, save. And we can turn on this policy. Now we can go ahead and test the login flow for the user. So I'll just have to log out. We can go to portal.office.com. And if you click sign another way, we can see here, verify your identity with approve with Cisco DUO. So that's the app we just set up. Previously, I had to go use another way because I set up Microsoft Authenticator previously for this account. So if we click, you can obviously use multiple authentication MFA options. Probably not very practical in this case, but you can. So if we click approve with Cisco DUO, we'll be redirected to Cisco DUO to verify our identity. Okay, get started. We can use DUO Mobile. Okay, and you would simply enter your mobile details here. Once you enter your mobile number, you'll be prompted to scan a QR code, which I just did. You can use the DUO mobile app. It's very good, and I highly recommend it. It works very well, and it's incredibly fast. So if you click continue, no, we don't add any more devices, so setup is complete, and you are ready to log in with Duo. So click login with Duo. We get now a notification on our Duo mobile app on the phone. Okay, yes, this is my device. And there you go. That's the whole setup. We are in. And Microsoft is so glad we are here. There you go. Okay, great. Well, that was it. So I've just showed you how to add an external authentication method in Microsoft Entra ID. I used Cisco Duo as an example. And as you can see here, the user will refresh this page in the admin console now. See, the user Dell is active. So we set up a Dell with Cisco Duo MFA. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you found it helpful, I'll really appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. You can just say thanks if you appreciated the video, or if you have any questions. I'm also happy to answer questions. All right, well, until next time, bye.